How's it going, guys? Cody back again, dropping yet another video. Right, guys, this is really worrying news now. This is the first confirmed case of the coronavirus in a prisoner. A prisoner at Strangeways, H&P Manchester, Strangeways, my former prison, has tested positive for the coronavirus. I'm going to read this story. I'm going to do my bit at the end. Extremely worrying times, guys. I'm going to go into why after. Headline reads, Strangeways prisoner tests positive for coronavirus. 13 other inmates are in isolation as a precaution. It is the first confirmed case of the virus at H&P Manchester. It's not just Manchester, guys. It's the first confirmed case in a prisoner. A prisoner at Strangeways has been taken to hospital having tested positive for the coronavirus. It's the first confirmed case of the virus at the Category A high security men's prison, officially named H&P Manchester. No other staff or prisoners have tested positive, the Ministry of Justice said today, Wednesday. But 13 prisoners have been put into isolation and 4 staff members were told to self-isolate as a precaution. No further details about the prisoner have been released. The MOJ said healthcare professionals are assessing it on a case-by-case basis whether offenders should be treated in prison or should be transferred to hospital. A spokesman for the MOJ said a prisoner at H&P Manchester has tested positive for COVID-19 and is currently in hospital. No other prison staff or prisoners have tested positive. Staff are working closely with experts from the Public Health England to take appropriate action, including measures to minimise the risk of further infection, in addition to the well-being of all our hard-working staff, along with visitors and prisoners. Our priority is to maintain a normal regime for as long as possible, including visits. Prison boss said hygiene has been prioritised, but we're striving to ensure a normal regime for as long as possible during the outbreak. Visits are still on, but bosses say the situation is constantly being monitored. And that's the story. Now, right, guys, so this is very worrying. Now, the thing is with Strangeways, for example, it's an old Victorian prison. Now, prisons are breeding grounds for infections, viruses, etc., etc. In prison, you can get everything from verrucas to scabies. And like I said, I even had my Hep B jab when I was in Forest Bank. Strangeways has had a problem with vermin, rats, mice, cockroaches even, right? So you've got dirty prisons, right? I remember seeing a picture of a cockroach, a dead cockroach in Strangeways. Now, cockroaches, if there was a nuclear disaster, right, a cockroach would survive. It didn't survive Strangeways, right? It's a dirty, dilapidated, decrepit, run-down prison, right? Now, the facts are prisoners are living in cramped, overcrowded prisons, right, that, like I say, are not fit for purpose. Healthcare in prison, by the way, is absolutely shocking, and it's shocking at the best of times, right? Everything's hard work. You've got to put apps in and stuff like that. The nurses give you dissolvable cocodamol and things like that. They're very limited to what they can give you. You'd be extremely lucky to see a prison doctor in Strangeways. When you get processed, you see a prison nurse. The facts are, guys, this has now hit prisons, right? Like I said, 13 prisoners are being placed in isolation. Now, I can't stress enough just how limited prisons are, right, to self-isolate these prisoners, right? Again, healthcare wings. Healthcare wings are not the biggest, they're not the longest, right? Healthcare wings, that's fine having an healthcare wing, right? But when you're seeing record levels of violence, record levels of assaults, record levels of self-harm, people keeling over from new psychoactive substances like spice, right? They'd be very lucky to get a few spaces on the healthcare wing. Then from that, the overspill of that would go into the segregation unit. The segregation unit is actually a punishment block, which is used for punishment. You put, like I said, you get people put there. They even put protection cases into the segregation unit, do you understand? But they could use that. And then they go on, right, what they like to do is use single cells. But single cells, guys, in prisons are used for high-risk prisoners. And the rule goes that you don't put a high-risk inmate in a cell with another prisoner, hence why they get their own cell. So again, And there's a very distinct lack of single cells within the prisons. Prison healthcare, guys, I can't tell you how bad healthcare is in prison. Well, I'll put it to you like this, right? Many years ago, in the last, I can't remember when Dr. Harold Shipman was caught. Dr. Harold Shipman was possibly Britain's worst ever serial killer, right? And when he was on remand at Strangeways, right, he killed loads of people, drugged them and stuff like that. They died, right? Dr. Harold Shipman was being held for a time in Strangeways. Prison healthcare is that bad that prisoners used to queue up outside Dr. Harold Shipman's cell, a guy who killed countless people. Right? Obviously, he wasn't able to give medication and everything, but prisoners used to queue up outside Dr. Harold Shipman's cell. What does that tell you? When people will go, prisoners will go and stand outside a serial killer's cell to tell them what their ailments are, right, than they will to do prison healthcare, because prison healthcare is shocking and it's hard work as well. Everything takes time, everything. And the facts are, right, you know, these tests for this coronavirus, apparently they started low, but now because of the pandemic or whatever you want to call it, the price of these tests have gone up. Now, when it comes to prisoners or prison officers, who do you think's more likely to be tested? Prison officers, right? Because like I said, prisoners' lives are disposable. They don't care about prisoners. The government don't care. The Ministry of Justice don't care. Those people on the right side of the tracks do not care. And I've seen some disgusting, appalling comments about this coronavirus and prisoners. But like I've said, they're clueless. Now, the family of this prisoner, if the family of the prisoner see this, please reach out to me, guys. You guys should be doing interviews with the media, right? The thing is, there's different ways that this prisoner could have contracted this virus. Now, like I've said, it could be from another prisoner. He could have been recently sent to prison and he's coming to a contaminated person and he's picked up the virus and he's been sent to prison. It could have come through on a legal visit when he sat down with his solicitor. His solicitor could have been carrying it. The prisoner's friends or family could have gone in on a visit, hugging, touching, blah, 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 contaminated surfaces. They could have passed it over. Prison officer could have gone in. He's contaminated with the virus. He's taken it into the prison. Now, what you've got to think of, guys, is, like I've said, if you walk past someone in the street and they're contaminated, right, you might never bump into that person or ever see that person again. When you're in prison, you're living on, like I said, the wings in Strangeways are massive, right? Massive wings, very open from the ones, which is your ground floor, all the way up to your floors, which is your top floor, right? Very open. Like I said, prisons are not prison. You've got to think this is a Victorian prison. It's not a spanking new prison. It's not Berwyn, HMP Berwyn, the UK's super prison, super in all its size and its failings. This is Strangeways. This is Strangeways that's had one bad report after the other by Her Majesty's Inspector of Prisons. This is a prison that has got problems with pigeons, rats, mice, cockroaches, right? Vermin. So what do you think a virus that's highly contagious is going to do in that environment? It's going to grow and it's going to be contaminated surfaces everywhere. Prisoners coming in contact with prisoners. Then you go into a hot plate to get your food, going back to your cell. The thing is, in Strangeways, the regime is pretty predictable. It's normally 22 to 23 hours a day lockup. Fewer staff, prisoners are spending longer times locked up. Prison visits are still going ahead as usual, as our legal visits and social visits are still going ahead as normal. Personally, as a former prisoner, it will be a matter of time before they put prisoners on closed visits. When they put prisoners on closed visits, again, they're used as a punishment visit, and they're normally for prisoners that are caught, that say you're on a visit and someone passes your parcel and you get caught for it, you'll get put on a closed visit. If you test positive on a drug test, they could put you on a closed visit. Now, like I've said, a closed visit, guys, it's known as the bubble, and there's a limited amount of them within the prison. It's not like when you walk into the visiting hall and you can see how big it is, and you've got the nonces there on the right, and you've got the get your food in and the seating plan and everything like that. It's not like that. The bubble, it's like a cell. It's like a cell, and it's a glass partition, floor to ceiling, I think at Forest Bank it was like metal halfway, then there's like a little bench thing, and then it was glass to the ceiling. The point is no physical contact. Now, the way that the country is currently going, guys, it's going to end up, for me, we're closing down schools, they're going to close bars, nightclubs, businesses are closing. It's going to end up being a situation where like no one's going to be allowed out, and the country's closing down. Now, that can't happen because a prison has to continue operating. Officers still have to go in. But like I've said, there's a distinct lack of prison officers at the moment. And like I said, then you've got these prison officers that are having to self-isolate, or they feel like they're blagging it and they're putting a sick voice on, telling the prison, oh, I feel I've got the corona sort of symptoms. I've got cough-like, flu-like symptoms. Okay, don't come in. So that impacts the prisoners' regime. If they close the country down, and like I say, or people can only go out in certain circumstances, or whatever the case may be, right? Prison visits will be cancelled. For me, it's inevitable. It's going to happen that prison visits are going to be cancelled. Now, prisoners, do you think prisoners are going to accept that, lying down and just go, yeah, okay, no problem? Prisoners won't look at it as a pandemic and it's for their own safety and everything. Prisoners will think, paranoia will kick in, and a lot of prisoners have got a paranoid criminal personality and that like demeanour of paranoia. A lot of prisoners already think that this is a man-made disease, and the media are fanning the flames of it, and other people are saying that it's to wipe out prisoners and the poor and etc., right? Now, like I've said, prisoners will take exception if prison visits are cancelled. Look at Italy. Prisoners, it boiled over into violence. Prisoners died, right? Because they just exploded into violence. The UK prison system has long since been a powder keg, right? And this coronavirus could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And like I've said, prisoners are not going to take it lying down, guys. But like I said, it would be done for prevention of the spread of the coronavirus. Prisoners won't see it like that. Prisoners will see it as a conspiracy against them and against their families and stuff like that. Like I've said, every time there's a visit in Strangeways, every time there's a legal visit, every time there's a social visit, right? There's people going in that have potentially got, unknowing to them, have got this coronavirus or got corona symptoms, right? And they're going into a prison and they're touching prisoners. And like I've said, when you're in prison, you have underlying health problems. If you're on the out for 20 years, right, your body will change and your health will be a certain amount, right, to a certain extent. In prison, 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, right, you don't have the same. Yeah, because you are neglected in the health sense, right? Healthcare in prison is piss poor. Just ask anybody in prison. It's disgraceful, right? So it scares me, guys. I'm wittering on, right? It scares me that this is now in prison, and it will spread like wildfire, right? Prison bosses don't care. The Ministry of Justice don't care. They was talking about an executive release order where prisoners would be released, low-level prisoners, elderly prisoners that are coming towards the end of the sentence, non-violent offenders would be released, X amount of them. From the statement that I've just read in the last story, that doesn't seem to be happening. The attitude of the government is that these prisoners should serve the whole of their sentence. So they're putting prisoners at risk. The fact is, guys, simply put, prison is the lowest rung on the welfare ladder, right? But the facts are, I see this coronavirus is going to see widespread violence within the UK prison system because it's inevitable. They're going to end up putting prisons on closed visits. They'll only be able to have so many people on a closed visit at a time, right? And then the next step up from that would be stopping visits altogether, which, like I said, it would be done for prevention. It would come from like the NHS or whatever, but it would be breaching the prisoners' human rights. And like I've said, a few years ago, they was talking about introducing Skype into prisons, but it would be very costly to the Ministry of Justice and to the government, and it was never rolled out. And like I said, like Skype calls should never replace face-to-face visits, should they? No. But like I've said, that this is catastrophic for prisoners' families, and even prison officers as well. But like I said, it's going to impact the officers, it's going to impact prisoners. Prisoners, it's like ship rolls downhill. Who's at the bottom of the hill? Prisoners' families, and then prison officers are just a step above that. But like I've said, it's already impacting regimes up and down the country. The prison system, by the way, guys, I need to make this very, very clear. They're trying to keep it shh. They don't want it getting out, guys, because it would cause an outrage amongst prisoners' families. Those on the right side of the tracks, they don't care if a prisoner drops dead. They really don't give a shit, right? But prisoners' families, prisoners, and it'll be prison officers that'll have to deal with it, because when prisoners kick off, they can't attack the system, so they attack the officers that stand before them. But like I said, guys, if you're the family of this prisoner, please get checked out ASAP. You could be carrying this virus, and I don't want you guys dropping dead. God bless the prisoner as well. As long as he's a general population prisoner, he's not a nonce. I pray that he gets better. I really, really do. But like I've said, prison, your health deteriorates quicker than it would on the out. Prison healthcare is shocking at the best of times. Prisoners are extremely limited into how they can isolate prisoners. And prisons are not clean places. They are breeding. Look at Strangeways. Google Strangeways cockroaches. Google Strangeways mice. Google Strangeways, like I say, just HMIP report, Her Majesty's Inspector of Prisons report, right? You will see what I am talking about. It's a decrepit, dilapidated, rundown prison. This is a highly contagious disease in a dirty environment. Prisoners living in overcramped, squalid conditions in prisons in 2020 that are reminiscent of Dickensian England. Living in close proximity, sharing the space, the prison phones being picked up 1 million times a day, right? Hot plate, things like that. Like I said, there's so many ways that this virus can be spread. SARS have said that it can be spread via coughing, sneezing, spluttering and things like that in the tiny droplets and tiny minuscule virus things when you sneeze and cough and stuff. Hence why people are wearing all these masks. Other people say no, it's touch contaminated surfaces and touching your mouth and all this sort of nonsense. The facts are this will go through prison population like a knife through hot butter. Aging prison population, prisoners with underlying health problems, COPD, weak immune systems, prisoners that might have cancer or suffered cancer, that might have gone through radiotherapy, chemotherapy, things like that. And like I said, it's going to see prisons leaving prisons in body bags. It's inevitable. But like I've said, please stay safe out there, guys. And if you've got any information, or you've got, like I said, some people ring me up and they tell me, oh, I know that this is happening in this prison. This prisoner's got coronavirus, right? That's all fine and dandy. But the thing is, what the media will ask for is proof. I need pictures of prison letters on letterheads about the coronavirus from within inside the prison. If anyone can get anything, right, please reach out to me and let me know. Because I'll tell you straight, so far we've got one confirmed officer at HMP Hyde down in Surrey. He's now in self-isolation. He's out of the prison. And we've now got a confirmed case here in our very own Manchester. 13 prisoners on the back of it have been put into isolation. But again, prisons are very limited to how they can isolate prisoners. 4 prison officers are self-isolating. That's 4 prison officers out of the prison, right? 4 prisoners prison officers doesn't sound like a lot, does it? I guarantee you that will impact the regime. Then you've got the officers that are on the escort with a prisoner that are in the hospital. Now, when I went to North Manchester General Hospital, which is one of the hospitals here in Manchester, from Strangeways with my knee, right? Just with my knee, right? I had a 5-man escort, 5 including the driver. Or was it 6 including the driver? I always forget. But I had a load of big units with me, right, when we went to hospital, right? So this prisoner, they will have, and like I said, we don't know what category a prisoner is. Like I say, Strangeways only actually houses 40 category A prisoners, right? The rest of them are Cat B, Cat C prisoners that are being held in a maximum security facility. It's not full of, Strangeways isn't full of psychopaths, serial killers and everything else. It has the same prisoners that you would get in other prisons, except from they hold around approximately 40 category A prisoners and escape list prisoners, E-list prisoners. But yeah, so this could be a category A prisoner. If it is, and he's been sent to hospital, they would have loads of prison officers with him because he's a high risk inmate, right? If it's like a B or a C prisoner, they might have 4, they might have 5, they might have 6. That takes them off the wing. What do you think that does? He's in the hospital round the clock. Them screws, they'll have a shift pattern and they'll have to do a handover with some other screws. Because like I said, you go to prison, you go to hospital from prison, you cuff to yourself and you cuff to an officer. Or they cuff you to the bed. It goes down that way, not 50 Shades of Grey stuff, guys. No. But this is what goes down. So, like I said, it could be 10 officers out of the prison, 4 that are self-isolating, 6 that 4, 5, 6 that are with the prisoner, right, round the clock, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? That's 10 officers. That will impact the regime of the prison. Then other prison officers, oh, well, I was in contact with that officer, so I've got flu-like symptoms. Prisoners are going to end up rioting, guys, because they're going to end up spending 24, 36, 48 hours in the cell. They might even do controlled unlock. Open a cell at a time. You go and get your food. You go straight back to your cell, lock behind your door, because in Strangeways, you eat behind your door. So yeah, and that's how they could do it, guys. But like I've said, they'll be running a skeletal staff within the prison. And it scares the life out of me just how quick this is going to take hold in prisons. Watch, mark my words. Dirty prisons are breeding grounds for viruses, infections, and prisoners are going to contract it. Prison officers are going to contract it, and visits. Prisoners' families could also become contaminated, and also legal visits as well. Like I said, guys, that will then impact the court system. There'll be a backlog. But the one thing that will not stop, guys, they could bring the whole country to a shutdown. One thing that will not stop, the courts will not stop sending people to prison. Prisons are not about rehabilitation. Prisons are businesses, especially with private prisons. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Cody out.